Hey friend, my name is Bryce Henson, CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp and one of your co-hosts here at the Fit Body Inside Look. Now this show is for our franchise partners and for those who are interested in joining our brand, where we execute meaningful interviews with our franchise partners, internal HQ team, coaches and clients to be able to provide you more insight and to get more acquainted with our brand and also to showcase the business opportunity available. Thanks so much and enjoy the episode. My man, Mike Cuccia, welcome to the show.
Bryce, thanks for having me. Excited to be here, man.
All right. Well, if you're new to the show, I know there's an intro, but this is an episode of the Inside Look. We have our new director of launch here at Fit Body Bootcamp headquarters. We're shooting this in our studio downstairs and just excited to welcome you to the team. And really this interview is just to get to know you a little bit better, what you see, what you've seen already in the onboarding process, and really give an inside look, if you will, to your experience of franchise partners coming through the onboarding process within our brand. So first and foremost, just want to get the backstory. Give us a little origin story. Where are you from? How did this all come to be? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a SoCal kid, born and raised. Born in Los Angeles, spent my early life there, and then moved to Orange County in the second grade, which is where I spent most of my foundational years growing up. Still live there to this day. Outside of college, I went to Arizona State University. So outside of living in Arizona for a couple years during college, spent most of my life in Orange County. Come from a very big Italian family, as you might be able to tell from the last name.
Say the last name, Cuccia.
Yeah, anytime you got the same consonant for 50% of the letters in your last name, typically you know that that's an Italian. So huge traditional Italian family. Really, that portion of my life has driven me to fall in love with like community. Little backstory, spent most of my time at my grandmother's house growing up, and it was kind of like the epicenter of the community. Garage door was always open 6 a.m. and anybody could kind of walk in, grab a Diet Pepsi, walk in the front door, talk to my grandma, my grandpa, my dad, myself. So very traditional Italian big family, sauce on Sundays, spaghetti and meatballs every Sunday night, traditional dinner, all sitting around the table. That was a big portion of my upbringing from both my mom and my dad. So SoCal born and raised, but from a very big traditional Italian family.
Heck yeah. And you mentioned that you spent a lot of time with your grandmother's. Did you live with her or did you just live close?
So like I said, her house was like the epicenter of our family and our community. So most of my time was spent over there. Lived with my mom a majority of the time, but spent a lot of time as well with my dad and my grandma at her house. And that was a huge part of me being raised, was spent with her. Mima is what we called her.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How about siblings?
So I have a sister, actually half sister. She is 17 years old. She's getting ready to graduate high school this year. So We have a 15-year age gap. So she's my half sister. My mom and my stepdad had her when I was like 15 years old. I remember being a freshman in high school or sophomore in high school when she was born.
That's a trip.
Yeah, so big age gap, but she's a beautiful young lady and she's getting ready to go off to college. So exciting times for her.
Heck yeah, man. Sports. I know I don't want to lead the witness here, but I know you come from a sports background. I think that really, especially the fit body world, that lends itself really well because we're a team-built organization and strong leadership and work ethic, et cetera. So there's a lot of parallels that we can pull from sports. So can you give a little insight in your background there?
Yeah, for sure. Sports was my first love, specifically baseball. So played all through Little League, and it really is. My family's a sports family. We're sports junkies. My dad likes to refer to me as the almanac. For some reason, sports knowledge is just something that, like, they'll call me up and be like, hey, who won, like, the 1987 World Series? And I was born in 91, but for some reason I know that. So sports has been a huge part of my life since I was young. Played team sports, baseball specifically, up until high school and continued to play, but actually focused on football.
And it's funny because just knowing you now for a few months, I know you're a football player. So I thought that's what you were going to come out with. I didn't realize you had baseball as well.
Well, I think that it's because football, I fell in love with football later on, but it was really like the camaraderie around football. Like when you're out there, you know, with your teammates and you're putting your body on the line, it's a different level than baseball, right? Because you're really sacrificing your body. And so I actually fell in love with football later on. Funny story about that, believe it or not, I actually started as a quarterback in high school, and I like to joke that I held the Guinness Book of World Records because started as a quarterback, but really started lifting weights my sophomore year of high school and blew up like 30 pounds, became one of the strongest people in the school's history, and shifted from quarterback to center. So I actually went from quarterback to offensive line, which is, like I said, I joke around as being a Guinness Book of World Record for the only person to ever do that. But I credit that to the weight room. I really blew up and was never very fast, but once I added the extra 30 pounds, definitely was not very fast after that.
Dude, man, that's a trip. I don't think, I mean, to your point, Guinness Book of World Records, I mean, obviously you say it in jest, but I've never heard of something like that before.
I went from taking the snap to snapping the ball. So kind of a funny story there.
Good on you, man.
Yeah.
Maybe what are some learning lessons or things that you've taken with you, whether from baseball or football or just being in that environment, that if you've applied to your life, to your business, or maybe even Fit Body, even though it's been a very short period of time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in general, it's just leadership and its direct correlation to success. Because whether it be internally here at Fit Body Bootcamp with any of my other companies that I worked for or on the football field, you can't thrive without strong leadership ability. And not everybody is built for it, but those that are called to it, if you can really step up and bring out your true leadership abilities, that's the key to me in any type of success in any realm of the world. So I always believe I was a natural leader, and football specifically, like I said, when you're out there and you're sacrificing your body, putting it on the line, here we're sacrificing our time. Fit Body directly, like we spend more time at work than we do with our families most of the time, and so you have to be able to be a leader to guide your people. And so leadership abilities are really, I think, the number one trait that translated from the football field and the baseball diamond into the rest of my life, whether it be my family, my jobs, or now with Fit Body Bootcamp. So just the importance of leadership in order to win is, I think, the lesson that I took the most from sports, and I think I've translated onto the rest of my life.
Yeah, I love that. Love leadership, and we're kindred spirits and the teamwork. And, I pulled a lot from my sports youth. In fact, my brother Barrett, who now we work with together, he's a two-sport athlete, played high school and college football and baseball, captain of that. And really that's translated for him as well in the coaching and profitability side, because, we're coaching in a team, aspect. And a lot of our most successful franchise partners, not that they're professional sports athletes by any stretch of the imagination, but a lot of times they have that background because, to your point, it teaches teamwork, camaraderie, community, and leadership.
Well, and I'll even take it a step further. In order to be a great leader, I think you have to be extremely coachable, right? You have to check your ego. And I think from what I see, what makes the most successful franchise partners on our end is their ability to be coachable. And I think that's a huge leadership trait that can go understated. I sit up here at HQ all day and I listen to Max make his calls, his discovery calls, his strategy session calls. And one of the first things he always said is the most successful franchise partners are coachable, right? They're the ones that understand that, we have a playbook, it's been battle tested, and if you can receive the coaching and take it and implement it, that's what really makes you successful as a franchise partner, because, this model is proven, and those that go off and really like lone wolf this experience, they end up having a tough time, but also quickly coming back and realizing, all right, now it's time for me to step up as a leader, and what that means is to be coachable as well. So, it transcends, leadership and coachability transcends so many avenues of life.
Yeah, totally agree. And if you're new to this channel, I shot a podcast episode recently on the Inside Look with Max, you just referenced, and Max Phillips, dear friend of mine, like a brother. He's oversees our franchise advising team. So when a new potential prospect franchise partner comes through, he kind of helps them and guides them through the process. And then once they enroll and be rewarded territory, then they get assigned to you, which we'll talk about that here in a minute. But to kind of put a bow on your background, the origin story, and your childhood, et cetera, what would you say was one of the biggest pieces of adversity in your youth, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to take it and be a little vulnerable here and talk about a piece of adversity that I overcame recently, which you're aware of. Back in 2022, I had some loss in my life, and kind of looked in the mirror one day and found myself not happy with the man in the mirror. I was over 300 pounds and realized that it was time to make a change. And so end of 2021, 2022 is really, I loved fitness my entire life and lifted a lot of weights and was in the weight room constantly, but it wasn't until 2022 or end of 2021 that I realized that what I was doing wasn't working. And I had made some pretty good strides in my life professionally, but personally, I was struggling a lot, and my weight had a lot to do with it. I wasn't exercising. My diet was, consisted of late night Taco Bell runs, and I just didn't enjoy the man that I saw in the mirror. And so end of 2021, 2022, or beginning of 2022, I decided to make a change. And that change has propelled me tremendously in my life, and was a very difficult piece of adversity for me. I've dropped a lot of weight, and it was very, very difficult. So that piece of adversity has honestly transformed my life, and one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about our global mission and inspiring fitness and changing lives is because it truly did change my life when I got a grasp on fitness and nutrition and mindset. So that's the biggest piece of adversity that I've had to overcome.
Dude, man, I love that. And there's a good amount of connection, empathy that goes to that story. And this is why you and myself and our team are so fired up to truly inspire fitness and change lives, because that's what we do here.
Yeah.
I want to dig a little bit more into that, Mike.
Yeah.
What do you, because, there's a lot of clients just like you, and if someone's watching this right now, they're probably a franchise partner, a prospective franchise partner who maybe has gone through a fitness transformation, or maybe just been fit and wants to give the gift of fitness.
Yeah.
How did you, what was the process of you being a two-sport athlete in high school, finding the weight room, getting fit, and then fast forward a few years, life happens, your career happens, which we're going to talk a little bit about your, career after college, et cetera. But what was the disconnect? How did you kind of drift away? And then what was the big aha moment that just brought you back from awareness as hey, I need to make a change?
Yeah, I think it was understanding that I was living incongruent with what my purpose was. I think what drove me to becoming overweight was really a lack of motivation, and understanding that professionally I was chasing money, right? You get out of college, you're gung-ho, you want to make, $1 million, and in doing so you lose, I think, what's most important, and that is pursuing your purpose in life and your passion in life. And so I had made some strides professionally, but I let the aspect of chasing too much money convolute what my priorities should be, which was really taking care of myself. And what the big aha moment was for me was that I realized that I was pouring a lot into others, right? Like my family, those that I was coaching, those that worked for me, those that I worked for, but I stopped taking care of myself. And I realized the big aha moment was I'm a giver, I think by nature, as you are, from what I know about you and our conversations. And I realized that if my cup wasn't full, mentally, physically, emotionally, how could I fill someone else's cup? And that was the big moment where I was I'm trying to be a giver, but I don't have anything to give. And so that was the man that I saw in the mirror when I decided to make the change. And when it comes to making the change, one of the things that I resonated so much with your message is you talk about turning pain into purpose. And so I just decided to choose hard. That's really what I decided to do. I started to, what is the hardest thing that I can do to get my body into shape and get my mind into shape? And I just started doing those things. So, it's very difficult, but has paid off, I think, dividends, which, I believe is why I'm sitting here.
I was going to say, you're sitting in the seat because of the work you've done, man. Well done.
Yeah.
I appreciate that insight, because that's just good insight for our prospects and our franchise partners, just a good message to reinforce, because they're going to be working with guys and gals just like you that for whatever reason have kind of drifted off and need that kind of wake up call, and that's what we do here at FitBody.
Yep,
so.
absolutely.
All right, so I want to transition now to not necessarily your role at FitBody, which we're going to get to in a second, but the second part of this kind of conversation is just a little bit of your business experience. So you give us the backstory. I come from Southern California, then Arizona State, Sun Devils, right?
Sun Devils, you got it.
And so, awesome pedigree there. When you graduate from Arizona State, what does that look like? What's your first, kind of career? And I would just love if you can kind of color in the details of, your career after college.
Yeah, absolutely. So immediately following college, I went to work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I entered their management trainee program there, which taught me a lot. They truly do give you the tools to be your own boss. And worked there for 5 years. Actually had 6 promotions in 5 years with Enterprise. Difficult job. I found myself cleaning cars in a suit and tie. but I was good at it. And enterprise, because I realized this is where I fell in love with sales and leadership. And so you start at enterprise selling like rental car insurance to those that are renting vehicles, and I was just good at it. Like we had something called EE Elite, which is for the top salesperson in each region, and I was in the program for 10 months, I believe, and I was EE Elite #1 all 10 months, which quickly ascended me to my first promotion and my first leadership gig, and that ignited my love for like mentorship and coaching, and because I got to pour into management trainees who were in my position that I was just in. So it was huge for my development being with enterprise, because it was hard. It wasn't easy. You know, you're putting in long hours in a suit and tie, cleaning cars, constantly at a counter, very, very fast paced, but it was so fulfilling because one, I realized I love sales. And two, I realized that my ability from a sales perspective could promote me into a level of leadership. And that allowed me to my first real foray into mentorship and coaching. And I think the most fulfilling part about that job for me was just watching my employees ascend. Like, I loved that portion of the job. One of my favorite things was every time somebody got a promotion, they had an opportunity to, or they sent out an email to the company that's like, hey, congratulations, Bryce, on your promotion to assistant branch manager, whatever it may be. And then the person getting promoted got an opportunity to thank some of their mentors in there. And, you know, I was on dozens of those emails. And so that was the most fulfilling part to me. It wasn't making the money. It wasn't like the profit and loss, the break even. Like, that was all cool. It's a huge part of the business, which I'm glad I learned.
Sure.
But really it was the ability to lead, you know, and mentor people. And so enterprise was pivotal for my growth. One, because it was hard, so I learned how to, you know, battle through some adversity. And I learned that after college, life isn't so easy.
Yeah.
And
especially
two,
after Arizona State.
Well,
I feel like that just sounds sexy, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're 100% correct. And so it really allowed me to develop those skills and find a passion for coaching and leading, and really has propelled me.
I want to break actually down sales and marketing and leadership. I believe that sales is leadership, leadership is sales. Actually, they both have influence as their root epicenter, if you will. Usually sales is a transfer of energy and belief towards a product or a service, where leadership is a transfer of energy and belief towards a vision or idea. But both, you're influencing people in a very positive way, or it should be a positive, but really those are tools. And I look at this, you know, for Fit Body, we have an incredible business model. We have the structure, the support, the coaching, and all that. For franchise partners, they don't have to have sales and marketing or leadership experience, but they have to be a student of that. They have to be willing to learn that, because really that is a really, really important skill set to acquire to be successful in life in general, even outside of Fit Body, but specifically as a business owner. So can you break down maybe a few skill sets that you acquired that made you good at sales, that made you good at leadership, just so we can break that down and be able to provide the value and insights to our audience?
Yeah, and I would argue it's the number one skill that you need to be successful in business, because you're right, it does transcend things like leadership. And my definition of sales, I'll break it down to you this way, especially if you love your product. I didn't necessarily love selling insurance to people that were renting cars, but I loved the outcome, which was that I got to be, you know, at the top of the list, right? I'm very competitive. And I loved the fact that it unlocked my levels of success from there. And so that's why I think I got into sales. To me, sales is conviction, right? Sales, to me, especially in fitness, it should be so easy to sell, because if you believe in this definition I'm going to give you, it should be second nature. Sales, to me, is believing in your service so greatly that you feel compelled to tell the world about it, because you know that it'll change their lives.
Amen. So I love that.
For me, that's the definition of sales. And when you break it down that way, as long as you're selling something that you love, like, it should just be fun. And from a Fit Body perspective, we put a huge emphasis on it. Like you said, it's not a prerequisite to being a Fit Body franchise partner, but it is going to be a key to your success. And the way that I look at it in fitness specifically is that people need help making a change, right? And we provide the services to get them there. So if you're not willing to sell, maybe you don't believe in the product, but what I believe is if you're not willing to sell, like, you're doing a disservice to our members, because some people, they know they need to make a change, they just don't know how, and it's our job to provide the solution for them. So in my mind, if you're not selling, then you're out there doing your members a disservice, because they need some convincing, and that if you can push them a little bit to understand that and walk them down the path of least resistance that allows them to help convince themselves that they need to make a change, that's how you're going to make the greatest impact. So I actually believe that not selling or having a resistance to selling, I don't even know if we need to think about it as selling, right? It's like helping people realize that they need to change their lives. Like, if you're not willing to do that, in my eyes, you're doing our members and our clients a disservice.
I completely agree with you, my friend. And I always look at it from the framework of, if you can't sell, you can't serve. And we're looking for people in this business that have servant hearts, that want to make a big impact in their communities. And really, sales, from my view, I couldn't agree with you more. It starts with belief. Do you have a belief in your product? And, speaking for myself, I've been successful the last 2 decades. I've had 2 careers, and I've sold 2 different things that I've absolutely believed that actually have changed my life. So the conviction, in your own words, was there in spades. And specifically for Fit Body, that's why I'm so passionate. You're so passionate, because we have a product that literally will change someone's life. So from my perspective, Mike, my friend, we have, and our franchise partners have, when they join our brand, a duty, obligation, responsibility to sell your client your program, because you're going to help them. And if you look at, the health problems in our country right now, the disease problem, the obesity epidemic, 80% of our population is either statistically obese or overweight, which creates massive complications. There's a big problem, and we need awesome franchise partners. We need awesome people to help sell with conviction, so that way we can help that problem.
I couldn't agree more. And, this may be a little bit harsh, but in our industry, it's selfish not to sell. That's what I firmly believe, because of the product.
Kindred spirits. And so I wanted to tap into your little bit of insight. So thank you so much for that, Mike. But I also wanted to, show the value, create the foundation, but also to just give our franchise partners, our prospects, some insight to really the value, the skills that they're gonna have to learn, but also some reassurance, the fact that sales and marketing and leadership, they're just learnable skills. And we have the tools, the support, because when I came in as a franchise partner back in 2012, I had learned to be able to sell prior, but I didn't have any strong leadership skills developed, and I didn't have strong marketing skills, which again are in the influence. And I've learned a lot through the support of the franchise, which now, with your help and with the team here at HQ, we continue to build assets and resources. So the call to action is, you're going to have the tools, okay? But you have to have the hunger, and you have to have the essence of value to be able to tap into your coaching, into that out of our brand. And as long as you do that, you'll be able to learn sales, you'll be able to learn marketing, you'll be able to learn leadership, and then you can grow and impact your community.
It's definitely a learned skill and an asset that you can acquire. And the good news is you've built an amazing team here at HQ, and we check all of those boxes. Whether you want to learn sales or you want to learn leadership, we got it all for you here. And you just got to be coachable, like we said at the beginning, and we can take it to the next level.
Heck yeah. All right, Mike, I want to transition to kind of the latter part of the conversation, which is really your role at Fit Body. Before we go there, I want to give you the opportunity just to share with our audience how you learned about Fit Body and how this all came to be. And then after you kind of share your perspective, I have a pretty unique perspective as well, since we connected prior to your role. And I want to share my take on it, and also probably some tangible takeaways, how and why you impressed me so much. But before I do, why don't you fire away?
So the way that I was introduced to Fit Body was I was leaving a morning meeting at a Starbucks close to my house. I was walking out with my grande iced Americano, and I had never noticed it before, but I kind of heard like someone on a microphone. And then I looked over and I saw the sign that said Fit Body Boot Camp. And I'd been to this, for some reason I'd been to this, shopping complex many times, but never noticed it. And so kind of walked over, maybe like a little bit of a creep, kind of looking in the window to see what was going on. And it was Fit Body Boot Camp. It was our East Orange location, which I actually caught a workout at this morning. And so looked in the window for a little bit, saw, the energy that was going on in the room, took a look at, the individuals that were working out, and kind of drove away thinking about, I never heard of that gym before. I love fitness, but then I started doing some research and came across a couple gentlemen. One is Bedros Keuilian. Dug into his message a little bit, which resonated with me just tons. And then as I traveled down the rabbit hole, I came across this guy named Bryce Henson, who was the global CEO of Fit Body, and then started following your content, which again, like I said at the beginning, resonated with me deeply. And I was already looking to make a change from the career that I was in. And So I just kind of kept tabs on both of you guys, and through Bedros, decided to buy a ticket to BK Live, and then decided to make the choice to cold reach out to you. Treated it very much like a sales pitch, and emailed you with a cover letter, a transformation photo, which was a little bit vulnerable for me, and then followed up a second time with a value proposition. And that's when you reached out and connected me with Brittany and Jessica, and we started the conversation from there. But I just resonated so deeply with both you and Bedros's message, but also the core values and the global mission of Fit Body Bootcamp. And I knew, very fortuitous that it was close to my home, located in Chino Hills. I'm in Orange County. I'm about less than 20 miles away. So a lot of dominoes kind of aligned. And then I was fortunate enough to stop you in the hallway at BK Live, and I think we had a conversation that I didn't expect. It was short, but it was sweet, and we were kind of off to the races from there, and kind of culminated in me sitting in the chair with you today.
Heck yeah. Love that story. You impressed me so much. I'm going to kind of give my take in a second, but I'm curious, once you learned about East Orange, which it just so happens Mike Cuccia is the owner of East Orange, who's a franchise business coach. He's also the nephew to Bedros Keuilian, who he's so humble. He never admits that, which I love, but that's the truth. He also actually, his first gig was working in enterprise rental car as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In sales, and he mimics the same type of feedback and had a really strong level of success and learned a lot in that process, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But once you, then identified Bedros as our founder and then me as our CEO, and then you went down the rabbit hole of research, what was your, I guess, the strategy approach? I mean, you just laid out to the audience that you reached out, but it impressed me so much the way and the manner which you did, but I want to kind of, get some insights from you because I think there's some takeaways to the audience on how to approach, how to connect, and really how to make good impressions on people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it goes back to the sales ability, right? I mean, sales can be done in a very tender way, and so I leaned on my sales ability to reach out to you, like with follow up and providing value, which is how we really get anything worthwhile in this world. But that's kind of the approach that I took, and I wanted to I knew I wanted to get into fitness. But I didn't just want to work for in fitness. I think I started to figure out I wanted to work for people that I wanted to work for and that had the same mindset as me. And so honestly, I just put my mind to it. I had decided that I wanted to make a switch, but I didn't reach out to anybody else. I knew that this was where I wanted to be. And so I put my full attention into it. And what I did was I took the mentality of how do I add value to these people, right? I didn't reach out to you and say, how can I work for you? I said, I want to work for you. This is my experience. This is the value that I believe that I could add to the team. I don't know if there's a role for me or where I would fit in, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to be coachable. And I know that this is where I want to be. And based off of my skill set and my experience, this is where I can add value. And I think that can't go understated, right? It's too often we're asking someone or we're trying to figure out through someone else doing the work, how we can add value. But what I did was I did as much research as I possibly could. And then I presented to you literally a value proposition of what I thought I would bring to the table. And I think luck had a little bit to do with it as well. The seat opened up, the vision for the department kind of added in.
But I'm going to jump in there. And to your point, I mean, there's fortuitous situations, and sometimes the universe has to kind of transpire. However, there wasn't even a position available at the time. So I want to sing your credits there. And I saw a vision. I had a rough idea potentially where I saw an opportunity for you, but very candidly into our audience, an opportunity was not available from day one. So to your credit, you really facilitated a strong impression. So I just want to really sing your accolades and provide that value and that talking point education piece to our audience.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that tremendously. And I'm just very grateful to be here. And I think, like I said, the biggest lesson, whoever's listening for our franchise partner specifically, whether it be opening up a new franchise or talking to potential clients, it's all about how much value we can add to someone else's life. And if you believe that we have world-class, sessions and the product that we're providing can really change people's lives, It's about adding value, and we have that in spades here. And I felt like I had the confidence that I had it in spades as well, and that gave me the ability to muster up and reach out. And I'm super glad that I did.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
And from my lens, I mean, a couple things that I want to add on to and just share from my perspective. Number one, your approach was direct, assertive, but not overbearing. Okay, so the approach is very, very strong. And to your point with value, which we'll get to in a second, the first thing I noticed though, you're very mission focused. Okay, so it wasn't you were applying for a job per se. There wasn't even actually a job available, but you latched on to the mission first and foremost, and that really spoke to me. I was like, all right, this guy, this is a mission-based organization right here, and that spoke to me in spades. The second thing was your level of education and preparedness. You literally knew quite a few things about me and also the organization, our mission, and where we're going, and that spoke to me. You'll never believe how many times I get reached out to, and people, they see my title, etc., but they're just looking for a job and they have no insight of our organization, who we do, what we do, who we are, etc. So very, very well thought out. And then to your point, you led with value. You came with the giving hand, which I think is really, really important. And we teach this at FitBody for our franchise partners. There's a gentleman named Dr. Robert Cialdini, who I'm a student of. He's a PhD, actually went to taught at Arizona State for a very long time, has written many books, one of them called Influence, and he studied the 6 principles, that are human nature across all humanity that really influence people, and one of is reciprocity. And when you give something, human nature, we feel this internal tug to give something back. The best way you show this, you can see this in real time, is if you walk down the street, in an airport as an example. If you smile at someone, you don't know that person, they're a stranger, chances are they're going to smile back. That's the law of reciprocity in action, and you did that in spades. So those are the 3 things that really stood out to me, that made a big impression. Now, it just so happened you also invested in yourself. So you purchased a ticket of BK Live, which for our audience, BK Live is an event, I guess, Bedros launched in September 2022, his first, iteration, which there'll be another September event this year in 2024 is going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona, I believe September 12th and 13th. But that all said, you invested in yourself to buy a ticket, which showed, you value personal growth, you value self-mastery. And then you also, reached out, and not overbearing, because my schedule was busy. I was actually, I gave a keynote. I interviewed Phil Heath. We were just talking off online. I did a couple podcast interviews during that event. So it was a really busy event for me as well. But your approach is super strong. It was not overbearing. It didn't feel like you were a fanboy at all, though you came up with a very confident approach and very dialed in. And we had, probably a 5-minute chat, maybe even 10 minutes, but made a really, really good impression with me. And then after I met, just to give you, our audience visibility, I came back to our headquarters that week, and I connected with Brittany, who's our executive director, is an integrator here at FitBody, and Jessica, who oversees our hiring. And there was a potential transition that I saw that I didn't know fully if it was going to transpire, but I thought this could transpire. And if it does, we're going to have a need for you. So I was very transparent with my team, but also you as well. But when I went back to the team, I said, hey, I don't know this gentleman a ton, but what I do know, I like, and I think it's worth having a conversation. We don't have any availabilities right now, and I've communicated that to Mike, but I would really like it if Brittany, you and Jessica just set up an introductory conversation, just one to kind of feel it out, and then 2 to see if there's value. And if there is value, when the time is right, if the vision holds true, then we can make an effort and with an offer. And as it turns out, had that conversation. Both ladies came back to me as like, yeah, this guy is dialed in, communicates really well, articulates himself very strong, mission focused, very well educated, very well researched on this. So we put that in queue, and I reached out to you afterwards and just communicated like, hey, Mike, there's still not the opportunity here. I don't want to make any promises. I'm a straight shooter, but we see value in you, and let's just kind of stay, connected. And to your credit, you're like, all right, Bryce, what else can I do? So you joined the Legacy Tribe Coaching Group, so be in our ethers. You also reached out, is there any other books or resources or content from FitBody? So this isn't something that we traditionally do, but I asked, Blake and Barrett, who are on our leadership team, if we can give access to the new Coaches Onboarding Playbook. So that way, just hypothetically, you're a new quote unquote coach, coming to the organization, which is the same training we provide, brand wide. So that way you could develop some institutional knowledge. And guess what? You took it in strides and you devoured the content. So it was very clear to me that you were hungry as well. And then when the opportunity came up, reached out to you and brought you in for an interview, and it was just kind of meant to be. So I wanted to kind of provide insight to our audience, but also to some takeaways, because your approach is really strong. And I just feel blessed to, be partnered with you now, joining forces with our HQ team. And we continue to stack the value and build an incredible team. And we know this to be true. I know this to be true from a leadership lens. Our team is our product. And I'm looking at a stacked team right now. And, you make us better. So that's the story that I wanted to glean from you, but also to be able to provide some takeaways to our audience.
No, I appreciate that. And at the end of the day, like I said, I resonated with your message tremendously, but maybe even more so, I just resonated with like the global mission. I told you in my value proposition, like if we're going to try and change the lives of 100 million people worldwide, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
I think that's my mission, which is why it worked out so well, because we have the same values and I knew that it was where I needed to be. So very grateful for the opportunity that you gave me and the insights that you gave me. And ultimately it worked out well, because I think I was able to come in with, like you said, that institutional knowledge that has allowed me to cut the learning curve, I think, in half and speak the fit body language quicker than I may have been able to otherwise.
Yeah, and there's a lot of learning lessons there, and also too, the last thing to put a bow on it, just the learning lesson for the audience. Even from a budget perspective, we didn't necessarily have that budgeted in terms of your salary, but I turned around to the team and said, within reason, reason. Let's do everything we possibly can to get this guy, because he's going to make us better. And also, too, your particular role is so foundational, instrumental in our franchise partners experience, which now I want to kind of transition to, because when a new franchise partner comes on board, we know this to be true. First impressions are everything, and especially when a new franchise partner just invests a lot of money. Okay, they have a lot of excitement, but they have a lot of nerves in the process as well, and we need to do them a solid to make sure they're set up for success on day one, because if we do that, everything else gets easier. If we don't, the opposite is true. So that all in mind, it's a perfect segue. If you, I know at the very beginning of this episode, I announced you and introduced you as the director of launch. So can you just provide some visibility what launch is, what your role is, and it's been a very short period of time in the grand scheme of things since you've entered, and then now we're sitting in this chair. But I want to give the audience a little bit of insight to just to your role, and then I'll unpack and ask you a few more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So when a new franchise partner comes on board, they go into onboarding. This can be like a 6 to 8 month experience where you're going through with, my partner, Chris Segura, the onboarding portion of, getting your permits, site selection, going through your build out. There's a lot involved in that, and I'm involved in that to a large extent. But director of launch, what that means is once you're getting close to opening your doors and it's just about game time is when we start working together closely. And so you go into the launch phase of onboarding. And what that looks like is 10 weeks we work together. And at the beginning of that 10 weeks, I begin to lay the foundation from a sales and marketing perspective. And the ultimate goal is to guarantee that our franchise partners are opening their doors with the 100 paying clients. And that is a guarantee that we make
From day one.
And it is my job to get our franchise partners there. So starting at the beginning, we go through, the foundation of sales. We talk about what the offer looks like, what you're going to be expecting from a marketing perspective. And then we really, really try and dial in your skill set. So you're going to start marketing. You're getting about 8 to 10 weeks out from opening. It's time to let the community know that you're coming. So we flick those ads on, and then it's our job to help you level up your skill set and get ready to hop on the phones and start to sell your offer that you're making. And so launch is really, in my eyes, it's the momentum that you build when you go into opening your doors. And in the world of fitness and in the world of entrepreneurship, momentum is everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so, one of the things that you talk about is you wake up every day with the franchise on your back. And for me, although to a lot less of a degree, I think that it's crucial for our franchise partners to open up with a bunch of momentum.
Yes.
And that is what launch is all about, because the more clients that you can have coming through your doors at the beginning when you actually are opening, I think the greater your success. You're going to be able to cut that learning curve down, and you're going to be able to increase your impact and your income in a much smaller amount of time. if you can have a successful launch. So throughout that 10 weeks, we start marketing at the beginning, and then we're meeting on a regular basis, and we're going over the sales framework. We're going to be start role playing. We're going to level up your sales skill set, get you a little bit better understanding of the marketing that we do here at FitBody, and then just continue to work throughout those 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and at a point in time during those 10 weeks, you're going to start making calls. This can be a very daunting time in your entrepreneurial journey because you're like, holy crap, I have a product and I need to talk to people about it, and you haven't even run a session yet. So it's a very cumbersome time, but luckily, like, we have such tenacity here at HQ and amazing systems and processes and so much effort put behind getting you prepared for launch that we have the tools that we need to set you up for success. So throughout those 10 weeks, we're dialing in your sales skill set. We're getting you comfortable with being on the phone. We're going through script review. We're role playing. We're going to start listening to your recorded sales calls, and we're going to do our absolute best to sharpen your sales toolkit as much as we possibly can. That way, you're opening your doors with a massive amount of momentum, and the 100-member guarantee is something that's amazing for our franchise partners. But my goal is to crush that every single time, and it's through consistent work, and it's through leveling up our skill set.
Heck yes. Oh, that's a lot to unpack, but it's a huge responsibility of the role. And to your point, yes, I wake up with the weight of the franchise on my shoulders, but you wake up with a big weight as well, especially our new franchise partners. I mean, think about it. If our audience is watching, you've had a baby. I'm not a father yet. I hope to be at some point sooner than later. But, we all know this to be true. When you have a little infant baby, a newborn, it just needs so much care, so much love, so much attention. And then all of a sudden it starts to grow, and then it can start crawling, and then eventually starts walking. And, certainly you as a parent are there always to provide guidance and support, but your need changes with time, right? In many ways, it actually lessens, but the need is still always there to many degrees. But those first, part of that process is just so critically important. And Mike, you have the opportunity, the duty, obligation, responsibility to kind of manage that. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's been a very short period of time, but in the dozens of conversations that you've had since taking role, what would you say is the biggest kind of hesitancies or concerns that new franchise partners have? And then on the flip side, like, what are most people excited about, or the average franchise partner excited about, in your introductory calls so far?
Yeah, onboarding and starting any new business, it's a scary thing. Like, you're beginning a journey that is full of unknowns. And so I think that that's the biggest hesitancy, right? Is that you're going to uncover roadblocks along the way, and you don't know when they're going to come, right? You kind of constantly have to be, I don't want to say looking over your shoulder, but you need to be prepared. Like, there's so many things that can go wrong and inevitably will go wrong. Mm-hmm. But I think that's one of the biggest advantages of, franchising specifically, or franchising in general, but FitBody specifically, is that, Bedros and yourself have built this company over a decade plus. Mm-hmm. And so I might have a little bit of a different viewpoint on franchising than most. You're buying a brand, mm-hmm. you're buying SOPs, mm-hmm. you're buying support from headquarters. But in my eyes, what you're buying is you're buying mistakes. Right? You can cut the learning curve in half when you're opening up a business, because you can learn from others' mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's Warren Buffett has a quote. It's super simple and kind of intuitive, but he says, while it's good to learn from your own mistakes, it's even better to learn from the mistakes of others. And so in my eyes, what are you buying when you're buying a FitBody? You're buying, a decade plus of mistakes that we've learned, we've adapted, and we've innovated. And so the fear is the unknown, but in reality, it's not a fear, because we've seen it all, and we've corrected it all, and we've continued to grow even through the toughest of times.
Oh yeah.
Even through,
that thing called COVID. Holy smokes.
Yeah, when we didn't even know if gyms were going to be a thing.
Yep.
So that's the biggest fear, is I think the unknown, right? And when you buy FitBody, that you're buying the mistakes. Because, you could probably speak to it better than me, but I'm sure we've probably made every single one in the book. And the good news is we've learned from them, we've adapted, and we've innovated, and it's allowed us to have exponential growth even through the most tumultuous of times.
Totally. And I love that perspective because that's true. And I love your wisdom behind that perspective because, I've been in the trenches with our brand since 2012 and as a franchise partner, and I've seen the business from a client, from a coach, from a janitor's lens, from a multi-location owner lens, from a vice president lens, from an executive director of coaching and profitability's lens, all the way up to the CEO and now a minority owner of the company lens. So I see it from a lot of different ways. And the fact that you have that insight, and that wisdom from the very beginning of buying the mistakes, the trial and errors that we've made. And the good news though is that you always need to optimize. You always need to innovate. And we have that in spades here. So, you were kind of talking about the framework of our 10-week launch program. Well, if you're listening to this right now, we might adjust things in the future. Yeah. That's okay. That's a detail. So I want the audience to listen to more of the strategy versus the individual tactic. Yeah. But the value behind, I guess, your wisdom and the vision that you just laid out is we've learned so much over the last, more than a decade, over 12 years at this point. Since 2012 is when we incorporated as a franchise, and we started the brand in 2008. When I say we, meaning Bedros, and we've learned so much over the last, over a decade, 15 years and going strong, and we're still going to continue to optimize and learn and grow and continue to add value. So it's a constant growth journey, but to your point, that's what you're getting from a franchise system. You're getting tons of support, you're getting tons of SOPs, you're getting tons of institutional knowledge, but also too, you're getting visibility to the things that don't work well, so then we can focus on the things that do, and you can really quicken the process to your success.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that really quick because we didn't talk about this necessarily, but I actually have franchise partner experience, albeit in a different industry. So I was fortunate enough to open up a residential cleaning franchise from the ground up. So discovery, franchise agreement, franchise disclosure documents, site selection, hiring our first employee, making our first sale. Funny thing about it is, the avatar in residential cleaning is very much similar to the avatar that Fit Body Bootcamp goes after.
Like Mrs. Jones'
Like
avatar?
Mrs. Jones, that's the one.
And I'll color in the details if you're not familiar with the avatar. Avatar is really the dream client, right? So who's specifically, when you're thinking about marketing to someone, many times people make the mistakes of trying to market to the masses. Well, the masses are just really consistent of individual people. So who is the avatar? Who's the dream client that you want to serve? For us is Mrs. Jones, who's in her 40s, has a couple kids. She's 40 pounds overweight. She's not a fitness athlete. In fact, she probably doesn't like the gym. She doesn't like that, but she knows she needs it. So that's the avatar. Flipping it back to you.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And thank you for the definition. But it's, for me, having been a franchise partner, albeit in a different industry, I feel like I can see the world through both lenses, which is actually what I think makes Fit Body so unique and makes us our strongest. Because if you look at the highest levels of leadership, right, yourself, Fit Body franchise partner, your brother Barrett, Fit Body franchise partner, Joel, executive director of marketing, multi-unit Fit Body franchise partner, all of our business development coaches, Fit Body franchise partners. And when I came in and started to kind of peel back the onion, I realized that the level of franchise partner influence at Fit Body is really, I think, our greatest strength. It's one of the issues that I had with the franchise that I worked for, albeit they're great people. They were like twice removed from the business. So when you're providing feedback or looking for influence, they weren't in it every single day. And they weren't able to see the world through that lens. We are the exact opposite of Fit Body Bootcamp. Even myself, not being a Fit Body franchise partner, but working in franchising, I can see it from both levels. But at the highest level of leadership, we have franchise partners, and everything that we roll out is battle tested through your guys' locations. It's not like anything we roll out to the network has been proven because we beta test it, right? You guys are kind of like the guinea pigs. And in my opinion, that's what makes Fit Body so unique from the franchise partner lens is the support that you're getting is a derivative of real world experience from people that are actually in the trenches and going through, understanding like the pains and the pleasures of running a Fit Body. So I think that can't be understated enough. And you can use me as a testimonial there because I've experienced it from the other direction. And it makes us so unique and only makes us stronger.
Oh man, well I appreciate that insight. Appreciate the accolades. To your point though, we didn't have an agile testing system from the years of 2012 to 2017. So those 5 years, I mean, unorthodoxly, we learned a lot. But then also too, we had the vision. Bedros initially had the vision. While I'm sitting in the seat, he realized that he wanted more owner influence to help shape the product and the client experience. And that's actually how the first domino fell by him reaching out to me in 2018 and been able to build an incredible team of stacked franchise partners and also non-franchise partners, as I'm sitting with one right now, but that really believe in the mission, that have insights, that just are good people, and that are valuing skill sets and really value a growth mindset to continue to develop those skill sets, so we can serve our franchise partners and then our clients indirectly, which is the vision here. So,
Yeah.
all right, Mike, my friend. So I want to kind of put a bow on this, and I have two final questions. And the first question is from a new franchise partner. So hypothetically, our audience, someone is a new franchise partner. They've just enrolled in our brand. They're watching this content. They're about to connect with you. What's your zone of genius? What's the best way they can really latch onto you, and what's the best way that you can provide support to them? And I think that's just really important for someone new coming in, so they know the value that provide, the skill set, and really how to best utilize you.
Yeah, number one, it just be coachable. That's really what it comes down to. We talked about it at the beginning of the podcast, and we brought up the story about Max and how he tries to set that table early on in the process. And it is just understanding that what you're buying is a model that's proven, and we're here to support you. So the more coachable you can be, the more success you're going to have, and the quicker you're going to cut the learning curve. So just being open to the coaching, asking the proper questions, leveling up your own personal skill set is huge, and we give you the tools to be able to do that. So the more that you can come in with an open mind. Now, that doesn't mean you don't bring, as a new franchise partner, your own real world experiences. Obviously, you go through a vetting process. You got to get past you, make sure you're a fit for the brand, that you believe in the global mission. But if you can come in kind of with a clean slate, ready to take notes and ask questions, and really, like, you make a big investment into becoming a Fit Body Bootcamp franchise partner.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so get your money's worth. I think that's
Yeah.
my biggest piece of advice is get your money's worth. Those who are coachable and take the coaching and make it their own and really dive head first are the ones that succeed the best. And that's probably my biggest piece of advice.
Ooh, love that. Appreciate that insight, my friend. Next question, I guess last question for today. Hypothetically, a non-franchise partner, but someone who's put in an expressive interest. They're doing some diligence right now. They're interested in becoming a franchise partner. They're going through that process right now. But for whatever reason, there's something in the back of their mind, maybe that inner critic, if you will, that's cautioning them from taking that next step, even though in their bones they know they're meant for more. They know they're meant for entrepreneurship. They know they're meant for income and impact and legacy. And they know they're meant to really help their clients and their community, but there's something standing in their way. What would your parting piece of wisdom to that person be?
Yeah, it would be focus on the mission. Remember your why constantly, because you can get into fitness in several different ways. But when you come to a place like Fit Body and you look at the global mission, not everybody in fitness, the global mission is to inspire fitness and change lives every day. So as you're going through the due diligence process, remember a few things. Remember your why constantly, because it's something that we talk about here on a daily basis, right? Our vision and our mission are at the forefront of all of our thoughts, and that is pouring into our clients. So if your goal really is to make an impact, then Fit Body is the place for you. And then the second thing would be, going back to the buying mistakes portion of it, like, just look at our structure, look at our leadership structure. You're talking about working with people who have proven success on their own, through their own investment, running the exact model that you're going to come and be running yourself. So if you're looking for some sort of testimonial, look no further than you, Bryce, right? Like, the impact that you've been able to have and the success that you've been able to have, you're not just sitting in the global CEO seat because you're the global CEO. You're sitting in the global CEO seat. Your brother, people like Joel, are sitting there because they've had success doing exactly what we're asking our franchise partners to do. And that's so unique, I think, in the world of fitness and in the world of franchising in general. So if you're hesitant, keep your why at the forefront of your thoughts and your decision making, but also keep in mind, like, this company was built on the back of franchise partners, and we're going to continue to build it on the back of franchise partners. So ultimately, I think that's our key to success.
Ooh. Mic drop, my dude. This has been an awesome conversation. And before I wrap for today, I just want to take a second to acknowledge you, man. Who you are as a person, the level of passion and compassion to help others, the way you show up, the value that you provide, and have already provided in a short period of window, just lends itself to just great success for our franchise partners and our brand. And I say this, I stand on the shoulders of giants, and you're one of them. And you're new to the brand, but I already know the big impact that you're going to make. And for me, I always say this and teach this to our franchise partners: your team is your product, and you are our team. The product supporting our franchise partners so we can support our global mission of inspiring fitness and changing lives every day. And we just got better. And my friends, if you're watching this, if you're coming through the process, your experience will get better because on the back of him and my awesome rockstar team. So that's really the vision today. And I just want to thank you and acknowledge you for being the guy that you are.
Thanks, Bryce.
All right, friends, I know you got a ton from this episode. I hope you did. My humble request, like the video and share this with someone in need. That would make a big, I guess that would mean a lot to us. And I guess that's all we have for today. So as I wrap my podcast, I always like to remind you, my friend, no one is coming to save you. You must save yourself, and the time is now. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.